Okay, now we're good. All right, welcome to DIY Valentine's Day cocktails. Thank you for attending. I want to start by just running you through all of our ingredients for tonight. We of course have our champagne. Actually, it's sparkling wine, rosé sparkling wine. And when we were putting together the ingredients for all of these drinks, the bartender I was working with, Jack Terry, did not actually stipulate that it had to be rosé. I did that because I wanted it to be pink for Valentine's Day. So you're welcome. Second of all, we have our Angostura Bitters. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly, but you were all able, those of you who are following along, were all able to get these? Good, okay, yeah, these are pretty easy to find. Third up are rum. This is a huge thing of it. But as it doesn't have to be Bacardi. I know I recommended that, but any white or silver rum will do. Yes. And last but not least, also way more than I'll need, this is Creme de Cacao. And this is chocolate liqueur. I'm actually only going to be using half a shot of this. So this is a little excessive, but it is worth it. And I will tell you why later in the presentation. And so we are going to be making a chocolate cocktail. And so those are our four main alcohols tonight. And the reason we only chose four was to keep the to keep the list of ingredients low, but also to show you how versatile all of these ingredients are. You can make a lot of different drinks with just these guys. And actually, we're mainly just going to be using the rum, the rosé wine, sparkling wine, and the Angostura bitters. So, without further ado, let's get into the non-alcoholic ingredients. Chocolate syrup. Does not matter what brand. This is just what I already had at home. Lime juice, everybody got that? Strawberries, mint leaves, ice, sugar, and this is sort of a last minute addition, but you could add chocolate candy to yours if you want. That's not a requirement. And as we go through, you'll see what is a necessity and what isn't. So just bear that in mind. So I'm actually going to start by showing you how to make an adorable little strawberry heart garnish for Valentine's Day. Start by taking a nice fresh strawberry. The more voluptuous, the better. Kind of like this. And just make sure you get off the stem. You can use a knife if you want, but just leave as much of the strawberry there as possible. And then you're going to cut down the middle, and maybe I'll lower my camera a little bit so you can see what I'm doing. So you're going to cut down the middle like this. And now I have myself a little heart-shaped fruit. And I'm just going to slice it a little bit at the end so that it will fit nicely onto the side of my glass. Voila. It's a very, I think, sensuous fruit, and it has a lot of history as sort of a love symbol. It was actually the symbol of the goddess Venus back in the days of the Roman Empire, which I think is kind of cool. And it was also a symbol of fertility because it carries its seeds on the outsides, which I think is also pretty neat. Another interesting thing is that people used to carve strawberries into the walls of churches in the medieval days. As a prayer. And I think that's to me, that's kind of counterintuitive almost. It's like this fruit that had this strong association with sensuality and desire was suddenly had a very religious connotation, and that's really interesting to me. But I think it was just because it was so perfect and just such a beautiful shape that people saw it as a holy object. But anyway. Now that you know how to make a perfect garnish, I'm going to teach you how to make a perfect puree. This is going to be a strawberry puree. And so you're going to want to do the same thing, and make sure your strawberries are rinsed, please. I know you all have brains, but I feel like I need to say that. So You don't have to cut them up, although you can if you want to, just to make it a little bit easier on your blender or food processor, whatever you're using. Yeah, get off the stems. And you're going to want about a cup of the strawberries. And you're going to be putting this puree in all three of your drinks tonight. So keep that in mind. Actually, I'm chopping mine up a little bit more just so that I can make sure that I'm truly sending a cup into the blender. A cup's worth, I should say. All right, got a cup now. Here we go. Yeah, I'm just gonna put them into my little blender here. And so 1 cup of chopped strawberries. And next up, you're going to want to measure out 1 tablespoon of lime juice. And this may seem a little unusual, but it will be good, trust me. Sorry. Pour it directly in. And you don't have to, but I am going to add just a cube of sugar, sweeten it up a little bit. Okay. So once you've got all those 3 things in there, or you don't have to add the sugar, that's up to you. Just make sure you lock on your lid. And I'm actually going to mute this part just so I don't bother you with the noise of my blender. So I'll be right back. Okay. So this is probably what yours will look like too. It's pretty goopy, that's what you want, but it's pretty liquidy. And that's gonna go really nicely in all 3 of your cocktails. So actually, we're gonna get started, I think, with the champagne cocktail. That's probably the quickest one. And it's also the easiest. So for the champagne cocktail, you will want your bitters, your champagne, obviously, and, oh, I'm sorry, your sugar and your cranberry juice. Totally optional. You don't actually have to put the cranberry juice in there. So to start with, I'm going to take a spoon and just scoop a little bit of this puree into the bottom of the glass. Now I realize this is not a fluted glass, and normally you would be using a fluted glass for a champagne drink, but I figured this is a little bit better for you being able to see what I'm doing. So yeah, just sort of a layer at the bottom of the glass. Everybody good? Okay. All right, so that's all you have to do there. Then you want to take, now this is kind of fun to do with a sugar cube. It doesn't have to be a cube of sugar. It could be just like, I don't know what this would be, a teaspoon or so, maybe 2. But just drop that in the middle of your puree. Do you see that? And you're going to want to take your bitters, I should say. And make sure you soak that sugar really well with the bitters. Sorry, I don't think I'm showing you very well. So your sugar should essentially be brown. Oh, can anybody see that? It's beginning to dissolve, but just pour enough of the bitters onto the sugar that's changed color and just let that sit for a minute. I just wanted to tell you a little bit about champagne cocktails because they have kind of an interesting history. They've been around for a very long time. Champagne, of course, has been around since like the time of the Romans, but it did originate in France. France has a very strong claim on it, on champagne, that is. And, but they really made an explosion in sort of the mid-19th century. I guess they sort of became very, very popular throughout Europe. Even Charles Dickens was a huge fan, and he invented his own. It was very similar to what we're making tonight, actually. He had a rum version of one. He gave it his own name, which I now can't remember for the life of me what it was. It wasn't that interesting, and I was kind of surprised because I would have thought that Charles Dickens, of all people, would be able to come up with like a brilliant name for a cocktail, but he didn't. And so it's not lost to posterity. I'm sure you can Google it, but I don't remember what it was. Anyway, but also not Charles Dickens, I'm sorry. They invented one in honor of Queen Victoria's husband, Albert, after he died. And the combination was champagne and dark Guinness beer. To me, those two things don't sound like they would go well together, I'm not knocking beer. Like, I like beer and I like champagne. I just wouldn't mix them, particularly not Guinness beer. But apparently Albert loved it, and they very nicely commemorated him with that drink. So, and I don't know if I mentioned this, they called it the Black Velvet. So it's very fancy. Yeah. They also used to serve champagne cocktails with ice cream, which I think sounds kind of delicious. I think that would be sort of like an alcoholic root beer float or something. I mean, you've got the carbonation and probably the vanilla, and that would just be very fun and refreshing and indulgent. Oh, so as I'm waiting for my bitters to soak in, I wanted to say, these exploded during Prohibition. You would have thought it would have been the reverse. You would have thought that they would go under, that people would have stopped drinking them. No, they exploded in popularity. And there a lot of new champagne cocktails were invented during that time, which was really interesting. The mimosa was probably the most famous one, which of course is orange juice and champagne, obviously. And obviously it can involve more than that. But it's named after a very common Northern European flower, which is bright yellow. So I think that's kind of charming. So anyway, I think we've let our bitters soak long enough. Now I'm going to pour in my champagne. Ooh. See that, see that, see that, see that. I like that. See how bubbly. Okay, that looks great. I'm just gonna let it settle for a minute, but I love that reaction, how it just sort of fizzed up the entire glass. And it's so pretty, look at it. I don't know how many of you are trying this at home, but obviously this is kind of a large glass. I maybe should have used a fluted glass just because I could have filled a fluted glass with champagne without putting too much in. This I can only fill about halfway, but it looks beautiful nonetheless. Just gonna let it settle a little bit before I take a sip. Anybody following me at home? Yeah, I think you should take a sip now. Oh, that's good. That's very good. I can still taste the Angostura bitters, which I'm sure you're supposed to be able to taste. I'm not a huge fan of bitter myself, so I am going to add just a tiny bit of cranberry juice. Don't feel like you have to do this if you don't want to. This is just me having a huge sweet tooth. And it makes it redder and deeper and gives it just a little more flavor. My Garnish keeps attacking me. Yeah, I like it with the cranberry. Okay. All right. So that is our champagne cocktail. And arguably all three of the drinks we're making tonight are champagne cocktails. They will all involve champagne, but that's okay because we're going to get a little more creative. Okay, so I'm just gonna put that over here for now. Those of you who had it at home, is it thumbs up or thumbs down? Thumbs up, yes, that's a good thing. Okay. Okay, so the mojito. Okay, this one's fun. And this is actually the correct kind of glass to use for a mojito. It's a highball glass. So I'm not doing anything wrong. So first of all, now I don't think this is traditionally part of a mojito. You wouldn't normally put like a puree in it, but why not? You know, I'm just gonna. There we go. Yeah. Okay. Everybody got their layer of puree? Good. Okay. So for the mojito, we're gonna put in, I think, 3 teaspoons sugar, rosé sparkling wine, of course, some lime juice, some mint leaves, a shot glass of rum. I love this shot glass, it's copper. And an optional splash of cranberry juice. So first, what I want you to do is take some ice, because every good mojito starts with ice. Just, you could chop it up in your blender if you want, but I actually prefer it whole. So once you've got, you know, a respectable amount of ice in your glass, this is sort of what it's supposed to look like. Put as much or as little ice in there as you want. You're going to take what we call a muddler. Now, I actually don't have a muddler. This is a true cocktail instrument. It's sort of a long, an oblong object that you use to sort of beat ingredients together in order to blend the flavors. Now, if you just have any, you know, long, hard object that you can use to sort of grind with, that will work. You could use like a heavy wooden spoon and a plate or a bowl. I'm actually using a mortar and pestle. And part of the reason is just I think it's very aesthetically appealing. So we'll see how well it works. So what you want to do is you want to take your mint leaves, and now you can use like 4 to 8. It's sort of up to you how much mint you want in this. I think I'm gonna go with 8, just because I think the more mint you have, the more of a true mojito it is. Okay, so I got like 8 mint leaves. Okay, and then I'm going to put in my sugar. Actually, I only have sugar cubes, and I'm going to assume that 1 cube is roughly a teaspoon. It looks like it fits. So there we go. Yeah. 3 of those. Okay, then I'm going to get my shot glass, and I'm going to put in my rum. This is actually does call for a full shot of rum. Put the lid back on. So 2 tablespoons of lime juice. Sorry, this thing's not the easiest to work with. Sorry. For those of you at home, I was curious how many of you decided, because I don't know if I explicitly said this in the instructions, but you're welcome to use a fresh lime if you want. Sorry, I'm using a knife to widen the hole here. There we go. Yeah, and if you are a real hardcore bartender, you probably would use a fresh lime and grind it in with your other ingredients. There we go. All right. Okay. So I love the sort of medieval look of this. There we go. I've got my sugar, my mint leaves, my lime juice, my rum. We're just gonna muddle them. Just gonna get this out of the way. So the mojito has a pretty funny origin story too. It did allegedly, supposedly, originate in Cuba. A lot of this may be apocryphal, but a legend has it that the locals invented it. Originally, it was sort of a very early version of moonshine, because they believed that the combination of the alcohol and the mint and the lime actually had medicinal properties. So that it wasn't meant to be something you would, drink for pleasure. It was something that you would drink for healing purposes. And I don't know how many of you have heard of, who was it? Sir Francis Drake. He was a famous 16th century pirate who at one point invaded Cuba and got himself injured, and called upon one of his companions to bring him this mixture in order to, heal himself, I guess. But being a pirate, he insisted that it be made with rum. So supposedly he invented the first mojito. It was called El Drake for a few centuries as a result. As I said, I think this is probably apocryphal. I don't think a pirate invented a mojito, but he claimed it did heal him. And so yeah, it was named after him for a few centuries, but then they started calling it the mojito, which is derived from the word mojo. I'm sure you've all heard of it. I forget what the original language was, but it means to cast a little spell upon, which, is a pretty accurate description of what it does. And sorry, I'm probably doing this a little bit longer than I need to, but I put a lot of ingredients in there, so I just want to make sure they're really well mixed. Probably a couple minutes. So the drink also has very strong associations with another author, Ernest Hemingway. He loved mojitos. He would drink them. He spent a lot of time in Havana, which is, of course, now sort of, Havana essentially has this as its signature drink. And that's, I think, in part because of Hemingway. He always visited the same bar/restaurant and insisted on having this every time. And now that same bar/restaurant has a plaque dedicated to him with a declaration by him saying that the mojito was his favorite drink, and supposedly that restaurant was his favorite restaurant ever. I believe the first half of that. So we're going to add our muddled mix to our highball glass. Oh no, I'm sorry, I missed a step. Okay, now that we've ground this, we're gonna get out our cocktail shaker. Now, I actually don't have a cocktail shaker. Once again, I am using a substitute for a cocktail instrument. You'd usually use a cocktail shaker, of course, but I'm using a mason jar. I think really any jar that has a nice tight lid will work for this. So I'm actually gonna do this over the sink. Still. Make sure you get it all in there. It does kind of look like a potion, doesn't it? And do make sure you seal it tightly. Just give it a good shake. Okay. And you see how it fizzed up? Yeah. Okay. So we've got this and we've got this. I'm going to add this. Oh, sorry. I always forget this part. Anyway. And last but not least, the Rosé champagne. Sparkling wine, sorry. Once again, the chemical reaction. And I'm actually just going to take my spoon and sort of mix it up a little because I want not only for the flavors to combine a little bit more, but also for the mint leaves to be better distributed throughout the glass. That looks pretty good. And just take sort of a big thing of lime. I mean, a big thing of mint. Stick it in there as your garnish. And why not take one of your strawberries. Make sure you get off the stem. And cut yourself another heart. Okay, now that we are fully garnished, we have to take a sip. So, cheers. That's pretty good. Is everybody having the spell cast upon them right now? Good. Mm. So I was thinking about adding cranberry to this, but I don't think it needs it. I really like the combination of flavors in here. This is delicious. So I think this is done. I don't think we need to add anything more to that. Okay. Feel free to shout out at this point if you have any questions or you just want to offer an opinion on either of the first two drinks. Anybody? No? Anybody's too shy? Okay, take a few more sips of your drinks and then.
I like that mojito.
Yes, it's delicious, isn't it?
Yes, excellent.
Yes. What do you think of the first one, the champagne cocktail?
I didn't make that one. I've had those.
It's pretty easy. Anybody else? No? Okay. Well, as the evening goes on, I'm sure you'll get less shy. Anyway. Okay. So, yeah, I just want to plug these a little bit because I know you can buy like a full cocktail set and I'm sure they work very well, those instruments, but like you do have things in your house that will serve very well as, you know, cocktail makers and you don't have to spend all that money. So anyway. Okay, so third, but certainly not least, last but not least, we're calling it the Madison Moose. Now there are definitely possible better names out there, and if you guys want to give us some suggestions, we're totally open to them. But it was designed by a professional bartender, Jack Terry, for our town, for this program. You are the first people on earth to ever experience this drink, so that's very exciting. I just want to tell you a little bit about Jack Terry. He couldn't host tonight because of prior commitments elsewhere, but he's really an impressive guy. He currently and has been living in Key West for quite some time. He, about 10 years ago in 2011, he won the Tommy Bahama contest. It was a nationwide contest to find the best rumologist in the United States, and he won. The best cocktail maker who specializes in rum, and he won it. So this truly is sort of a designer drink, for lack of a better word. And as I said, it is a chocolate drink, or it's going to be a chocolate drink. I don't know how many of you have had chocolate cocktails before, but I think a lot of them tend to feature, you know, like heavier things like Bailey's Irish Cream, and they'll have like half and half in them. And if you like that, that's great. Like I like a rich drink sometimes too, but I'm sort of a fan of this one because it's not as heavy. And I think in some ways you can actually sort of appreciate the chocolate a little more that way. So I'm just gonna get started. First, our chocolate syrup. Now, so again, for anything involving champagne, you'd probably normally use a fluted glass, but I wanted to use I'm using a red wine glass because I wanted to use something that had like a wide open mouth where you could garnish the chocolate syrup more easily. So I'm gonna squeeze it sort of back and forth, up and down along the glass. And it's not perfect, but you get the idea. You just kind of want like a wavy, funky look. See this? Yeah. And yeah, that is easier to do with sort of a wide open glass rather than one of these narrow or highball glasses. So anyway, then, yep, you guessed it, our strawberry puree. So everybody see that? It's sort of at a pool at the bottom. And I like the combination of those colors. Yeah. Okay. Oh, sorry. We don't need the mint anymore. So this is going to involve both the rum and the liqueur. And we're going to start with half a shot of rum. I know there's probably some variety in, pull a little bit back, in shot glass sizes, but just do it. If you want to put a little less in or a little more in, that's totally your call. So that's half shot of rum. Oh, I'm sorry, that's actually half the shot of. Luckily, it's the same amount of creme de cacao as it is for rum. So I actually just accidentally put the creme de cacao in instead of the rum. They are kind of similar looking. I actually wanted to say something briefly about this liqueur. Obviously, it's not dark brown. You do get a lot of chocolate liqueurs that are dark brown, which is appropriate. But this is the only difference between this and the regular dark liqueur is that it does not have food dye. It has all the same flavors in it. So even though it's not making the drink look any more chocolatey, it will still taste just as chocolatey. I just want to say that. But yeah. There we go. Okay, now. Hold on. Again, about half a shot. I think I put too much in, so I'm gonna pour a little bit back. Pour it in. Give it a little mix. Okay. Well, let's sort of let them blend for a minute. Then, your final ingredient, of course, your rosé sparkling wine. This is going to be a strong drink. Ooh, I love that. Chocolate fizz. Look at that. Take a sip of it. Mm. Wow. Mm. Okay. So I'm going to cut one more heart strawberry. There we go. This is what we are currently calling the Madison Moose. Madison because it was invented for Madison really, and Moose because it features so much chocolate. Now I would totally love to hear your drink name suggestions for this one, because I think it should be decided by the town of Madison what our signature drink is going to be called. Yeah, feel free to turn on your microphones at this point and just shout out.
I like the original name.
I'm sorry?
I like the original name, the Madison Moose.
The Madison Moose? Okay, it's good, yeah.
Cute, yeah.
Yeah, it's good. I was just thinking, just to be democratic, we should have townspeople vote. Anybody want to say anything? I mean, we've got 3 drinks here. So if you got any questions, comments, observations, if you just want to say you didn't like one, that's totally fine. No judgment here.
I think I like the Mojito best.
Yeah, the Mojito is pretty spectacular.
Yeah.
But as I said, our bartender is a professional rumologist. I didn't know that was a thing. And that's why we have so many rum drinks tonight.
Yeah.
I forgot to tell you one thing. So I didn't mention this in the list of ingredients, but if you want, you can add chocolate candy
Oh my God.
in true Valentine's Day form to your chocolate cocktail. And I'm gonna add some M&Ms. It's very sophisticated.
Wow.
I'd like some on the side.
On the side, you could do that too. I'm wondering what will happen. You can see they made their mark in the
Wow. They're all beautiful.
I'm almost not sure I need to get to the liquid part of this drink because the fizz is just so much fun. It's delicious. But I'm curious, will any of you be making any of these on Valentine's Day?
I might make the mojito again.
The mojito, okay, good. Good choice, yeah.
So,
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
that's it.
Okay.
Wow. They're too
But I
pretty.
do think it's necessary to have chocolate somewhere in the mix on Valentine's Day. So I'm glad we got our chocolate cocktail in. Yeah.
Can you make it with vanilla?
Sure. I mean, you would just switch everything out. You do, I assume vanilla syrup is a thing. And then I'm assuming vanilla liqueur is also a thing. And yeah.
But they're so pretty. It's beautiful.
They are very visually appealing. Yeah. The Madison.
Wow.
Moose. So what would we call it if it was vanilla?
A polar bear?
A what?
A polar bear?
A polar bear. That's cute. I like that.
Oh, it's white.
The Madison Breeze.
The Madison Breeze.
Oh,
I like that.
Madison Surf. Surf is white.
I mean, those
Yeah.
are good because we are a seaside town. So, you know, surf and breeze, those are all, you know,
yeah, it's beautiful.
ocean words. Maybe we should put this up for vote, like on our social media or our website or something.
That's another idea for a future get together.
Yeah.
I
But
have
as
to
you
go.
can see, these are all very easy, don't require a lot of ingredients, don't take much time. I mean, I spoke more than I mixed, so as you noticed. But yeah, you probably make all three of these on Valentine's Day and, you know, have time left over.
Why not?
I'd be under the table in no time.
Yeah, if you were to drink those three, would you get pretty high? I don't.
Pretty wasted? Yeah, I think probably.
Do it. Okay.
I'm not gonna do
No.
Are you at
pretty
the
drunk,
library?
yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't recommend more than one of these at a time. So
Okay.
one sitting. Yeah, just be responsible.
Anyway, it was fun. Rachel, I have to go. I have a Zoom call.
Oh, that's fine. You know what? I'm going to stop the recording now and we can do a little Q&A if you want.
Thank you again.
You're very welcome.
So
Thank
much
you.
fun.
Good.